All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 40 of FMAG tonight. One of your hosts, Krishna, and I'm joined by the lovely Teresa and Becky. How are y'all?
Great.
Hello. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Oh, yes, indeed. Thanks for the reminder. Yes, indeed. Happy Cinco de Mayo, even though this isn't actually technically and officially the real Mexican Independence Day, but indeed, regardless, happy Cinco de Mayo.
It's always a great day to have a margarita, right?
Yeah, it's true. Among
Becky
many,
and
but
I
yeah.
are thinking the same.
Everyone but me.
Oh, true. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sorry, Miss Becky. All in good time. Well, we have a really great show for you tonight. We have a special guest that we're going to talk to here very shortly. Her name is Cyndie Phillips, and she is with the Convention of States, and she's going to talk to us all about what that is, how to get involved, and some action items that we can do together as freedom fighters. So we're really excited to have her on our show tonight. We're going to start, though, by talking about our own event coming up May 25th. It is a gala that we want to talk to you about, and we're going to have some special guests. We have maybe you've heard about some election integrity and election fraud. And so we have our very own gala event that's coming up. It's called Take Back Texas. It's on May 25th, and we have some special guests. So we're really excited about our special guests. We're going to show you a couple videos, and then we're going to show you our 2000 Mules movie trailer that just came out. Some of our FMAG members went to see that last night. I have not been able to see it yet. We have a very busy schedule. As you know, we're all families here on Freedom Matters Live. So we want to share with you a couple of our special guests, talk a little bit about that, and share with you how you can actually buy tickets to attend this event. So again, it is called the Take Back Texas. And we have Colonel Phil Waldron, who's going to be attending as a guest speaker. And then we also have Russ Ramsland. So let me show you a little bit about who they are. If you are familiar with any of the election fraud hearings or symposiums or anything like that that's been going on, you may have heard of the Mike Lindell Cyber Symposium. This was actually held in August of 2021, and things have been rolling. There's different states around our country that have been discovering some of the fraud. And if you look at the 2000 Mules movie, you'll see a lot of what actually happened in the 2020 election and why there's so many people outraged by the steal, right? So, and then of course you can watch it for yourself and see if you want to follow any more of it and see if it's something that you believe or sink your teeth into. So our first one is, this is a cyber symposium by Joe Altman, Josh Merritt, Phil Waldron, David Clements, and Patrick Kolbick. So we'll share this real quick so you can see who we're talking about, who's going to be a guest.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever met either Colonel Phil Waldron or the expert witness Russ Ramsland, or followed him? Because I've only seen them on the symposium or in the Georgia hearing, but I haven't seen them anywhere else.
Nope, I've not met either Colonel Waldron or Russ Ramsland.
Yeah, neither.
I'm going to share just a short clip. We'll go with Phil Waldron first.
Yeah.
Now, if you know of Dominion Systems, he is a whistleblower for what actually happened, what happens within the Dominion system, the voting machines. So here we go. And this is him right here. Can you see that?
Well, the image is blocking the screen, the browser. So.
Okay, let me take that off.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now it's good. Yeah.
Okay, and let me try that again. I just want to make sure I have my audio on. I think I always forget to do that at first.
Audio always trips us up.
All right, so the first one is Phil Waldron. Here we go. I'm just going to play a little bit. It's a very long symposium. This is over an hour long, so
right.
Yeah, we're not going to play that for you guys. So
watch it on your own time. Yeah.
But you can find it on Rumble. So
right.
Let me show you what it's called, though. It's called Cyber Symposium. So if you go in Rumble and you search Cyber Symposium, you'll probably find. They did this 48 hours, I believe, straight. So there's a lot of video that you'll probably find in Rumble.
Yeah, then do you want to put the link in the comments, Teresa, so people can click it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Let me go ahead and play this here.
And get the crayon book out.
Yeah, I can do that.
Or crayon in the Big Chief notebook. Was this evidence of Dominion Systems actively erasing forensic evidence?
Yes.
And explain how.
So can I get back to the, we talked a little bit about deviations. I think it'd be helpful if we had a foundation for why this is important.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can I take a minute and do that? All right, guys, my name is Joe Oltman. I was the CEO of a tech company. I had to resign. I'm the one that came forward with the information about Eric Coomer of Dominion Voting Systems. I further am a tech CEO. I do understand data very well. I was a tech CEO.
Okay. I'm actually going to stop that because I misspoke. This is actually not, this is Joe Oltman. That is not Phil Waldron. So let me fast forward through it a little bit so you can actually see Phil Waldron. He's on the far right instead of the far left. This is him right here.
Indeed, yeah.
There we go. He talks for quite a bit.
Yes.
About it's impossible to have that communication taking place. Based on what we saw, can we definitively give our legislators an answer on if that's true or not?
It's that they communicated with. They absolutely did.
Okay.
Absolutely. And look,
That would take a while.
That's going to take a while. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you touch it a little bit
And
more?
then one last question. I'm sorry.
the code to allow that to happen. The 6th grade.
Source code means I'm actually looking at code base, kind of like
Shit out. Maybe
Identical.
This looks interesting. I can watch the whole thing now.
Judge had already come
Yeah,
out
it's pretty.
and said you get no access to.
Sorry about that, guys. It is pretty long, but they do have conversation between each other. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll come back to that. Let me figure out
Yeah,
which
for
one
sure,
to
yeah.
share. That way we're not wasting our time there. Let me figure that out. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So let's go to our other expert witness. And he actually is a witness for the state of Georgia. And he actually spoke in front of the state house elections hearing in Georgia. So let's hear Russ Rent.
Yeah.
There we go. And this is basically a summary of his findings. So he's going to go through a little bit of it. I won't play all of it, but at least you'll have an idea. And we'll share the links also in the comments.
Just run through it real quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I know your time's important. But we got involved in this because we saw some logs out of Dallas in 2018, and my cyber guys were totally horrified at what they saw. We didn't really set out to look at the voting system, but we just felt like we had to based on what we saw. So we started looking into it, and what we found is that the election system is not well understood. More than that, in a lot of cases at the federal level, it's ignored. Some of it may be willful. Some of it may simply be ignorance. I don't know, and I'm not judging. But it's a complex patchwork. There are lots of people who are involved in this, including foreign-owned companies with servers outside this country. And there aren't really any hard standards. There are voluntary standards. Actually, they're called guidelines. And as a result, guidelines are pretty loosey-goosey. And so a lot of these voting companies say that they're in compliance with all guidelines, but they've defined their interpretation of what the guidelines are, since it's all entirely voluntary. And most SOS people do not know what the whole voting system looks like. And we found an incredible number of places where this thing can be injected. And so let me see if I can show you a little about that. This is actually what the voting system looks like at a high level. And can you see my whole screen, or on mine, I'm seeing some of this? Let me just do that. Yeah, that's better on mine. This is where you and I vote. This is your county, where central counting, tabulation, etc., with poll books, with databases, with tabulation software, reporting software, and with Dominion and ES&S and even HART, there's an unofficial database and an official database. And the general story is, well, this whole thing is air gap because this isn't connected here, but it is. And it's air gap because these two are not connected, but they are. And you can see that they are because they both are behind the same firewall. So guys like mine can go in, and if they can get to this unofficial database, and you're going to see there's a bunch of ways to do it, they can also change these numbers. So how do things get changed? Well, let's talk about that. At the voting place, and we'll get to that at the very end of my deal here.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. So basically what he's talking about is how the machines actually switch votes, or what happens when you go through adjudication process. When you go to vote, your vote potentially is not counted the way you intended to vote initially. So he's going to be a really great speaker at our gala. So we would like for you to come if you can, and listen to him a little bit further and figure out how we can do things here locally, what to look out for, and legislatively, what can be done to make sure that we don't, I mean, in Texas, it's a little bit different. We still have voting machines, but we don't have the Dominion systems. I believe it's a different system that is basically possibly the same. So there could be some issues here in Texas as well. So
it's so neat to see that there are lots of different people out there doing this research and digging in and figuring out all this hard data that we regular people don't have time to. You know, Seth Keschel was the first one across, but these other two guys seem just as informed.
Right. Seth Keschel is a beast. He was going through every single county and every single state to look at, anomalies. So if you had, for example, 500,000 Republicans and 600,000 Democrats registered in a county, and you had more than that percentage-wise, it didn't make sense. Or he was also looking at the trends based on what you're registered for. So he did a really great job. He's been doing that for a long time. I think he started it right away, and he started one state at a time. And so if you check out Seth Keschel and what he's been doing, it's quite interesting all the time that he's taken. I don't think he's getting paid for that. I think he just
I don't think
either.
Yeah, in fact, he's probably paying a lot of money to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In addition to his regular job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So it's called Take Back Texas, and you can get your tickets here.
Yep, they're $50, I believe, and it's in Fort Bend County, and
it's going to be Wednesday, May 25th at 7 o'clock, and it's a semi-formal attire. Veterans of Foreign Wars at 2200 Staffordshire Road, Missouri City, Texas, and we have special guests Russ Ramsland and Colonel Phil Waldron, like we talked about. We also have some other guests like Chris Heasley. He's our very own FMAG member. And we have Jennifer Bridges who's going to be there. We also have Angela Fox, and we also have the wonderful, if you don't know her, Dr. Seema Nanda. She is an eye doctor, and she is just she's so witty, and she's very smart. And if you've ever heard her speak about anything, she's just an amazing person to be around. So
for sure, yeah. And like Jennifer Bridges, she was a guest on our show as well.
Yes, and she has her medical fight coming up at the end of this month. I believe it's on the 24th of May, right?
Oh, I must have forgotten about this, or I never knew. But okay, yeah, I do now.
Yeah, she has finally. I mean, it's crazy how it takes a whole year, because it was May or June of last year, right, when she started fighting back, saying, you know what, I'm not sure about this. This is a new type of vaccine that I'm not sure of. I don't want to put this in my body until I know more. And she
Yeah.
was fired from her job at Methodist.
Oh,
And so she's. Mhm.
Oh, she was also okay. So both her and Jennifer Bridges were fired from Houston Methodist.
No, Jennifer Bridges.
Oh, you're talking about, okay. Sorry, I thought you were about Dr. Nanda. But yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Nanda, no, she's still practicing, and she does not
Yeah.
require masks. If you need to go to her office, she does not require you to wear a mask. So you can
God
go
bless
get get an eye exam. She's pretty fun to speak to. Now,
For sure,
it's
yeah.
$50 for the ticket. If you want to contribute a little bit more, then you can always do that as well.
Okay, great. Yes, and then as a reminder, the elections for the chair positions for the independent school districts for Fort Bend are coming up on May 7th. So as our audience knows, we are endorsing David Hamilton and Rick Garcia. So please go out and remember to vote for them on May 7th if you haven't already in the early voting period. And we need patriots everywhere, not just on regular political offices, but in our own schools to protect our kids from all this horrible leftist woke ideology like CRT and the pedophilia and the sexualization of the kids. And quite frankly, that's unfortunately just scratching the surface. So don't forget to vote for David Hamilton and Rick Garcia on May 7th.
Right. And there are a couple other propositions we could talk
Yes.
about at the very end. And the last thing before we have our wonderful guest, Cyndie Phillips, on our show, we're going to share with you the trailer for the 2000 Mules.
Actually, before we do that, this time to Cyndie Phillips. So on the 9th, May 9th, this Monday in Conroe is a chance to meet our constitutional sheriff and Rand Henderson, which makes me feel blessed to live in Montgomery County. So if you're in Montgomery County, please do come to Rudy's this Monday. So I'll just share the flyer so people can see that. Yep, entire screen. Yep, and here's the flyer. So it'll be not just Sheriff Rand Henderson, but also Lieutenant Scott Spencer and District Attorney Brett Ligon. I hope I'm saying that last name correctly. And it'll be at Rudy's Barbecue in Conroe. So if you can, especially if you live in Montgomery County like myself, please do come out on Monday, May 9th to Rudy's.
Okay, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get our special guest, Cyndie Phillips. Now, and she's going to explain, she is a regional captain for the Texas chapter of the Convention of States. And she's going to come on and talk about what that is and how to get involved in what that means for the complete United States. It's not just the state of Texas, but how all of the states work together for the Convention of States and what that means and what has happened before, how our Constitution was even come about. So without further ado, here is Cyndie. Hi, Cyndie.
Hey, Cyndie, good evening.
Hello.
Thanks
How
for
are
joining
you
us.
guys? Thank you.
Yeah, good. Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me on. And I know I mentioned before we got started, I mentioned to you guys that we do have a storm coming through, so it may interrupt a little bit here. So just let y'all know that in case I freeze frame. That's what's happening.
Fair enough. Yeah.
No problem. Well, we're so happy to have you on the show. Thanks for
Thank
joining Freedom Matters Live. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you really got into the COS and what it all means.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm sure that my story probably resonates with many people in that I was very, very much asleep at the wheel. I thought doing my civic duty meant voting, and generally pretty much every 4 years. I think it's safe to say that I voted in all of the major elections, but I can't promise I voted even in all the primaries. So, and even then I was one that I would look around and find somebody that I trusted and ask them, who do I vote for? So didn't occur to me that I needed to do some research on that. But anyway, all that to say, the 2020 election happened. And as we all know, especially after all of these other things are coming out, like 2000 Mules, which I was very blessed to get to see last night, there's something happening. And so pretty much woke up after the election and and thought, what in the world? And so I looked around for something to get involved in, and I had no idea what to do, but stumbled across Convention of States. And at the time, I said I would be a district captain, which is basically what. So Convention of States is an organization that was founded in 2014, and the whole name of it came about because out of the Constitution, in Article 5 of the Constitution, it describes how the Constitution is amended. And the Constitution is amended in proposed. You have amendments that are proposed, I should say. Amendments are proposed two different ways. They're all, the Constitution is amended only one way, and that is through ratification through the states. That's the only way. But there are two ways to propose amendments. And most people are aware of the first way, which is Congress. Congress proposes amendments, and upon 2/3 of Congress coming together to say, yes, this is the amendment, or these are the amendments that we would like to put forth. Once they get to that 2/3 majority, they will put that forward to the states, and then the states, we the people, get to vote whether we want. Like right now, we're going to be voting on 2 amendments on the Texas Constitution. The same would be true if there was an amendment for the U.S. Constitution. It would go on the ballots to the states, and the states would ratify. So 38 states, or 3/4 of the states, have to vote yes to ratify or adopt a new amendment to the Constitution. But so on the proposing side, other than Congress getting to propose amendments, the Constitution in Article 5 does lay out another way. And that is that if 2/3 of the states call for a convention, they can call for a convention. So 2/3 of the states apply to have a convention of states. And so that's where the name Convention of States came from. So we can have a convention of states whereby we send state delegates, and the state delegates can go to a convention and discuss and propose amendments. And upon 2/3 of the body of the convention coming up with a unified proposed amendment, they send those proposed amendments, the proposal, to the states for the states to ratify. So the process of ratification is the same as it always has been and always will be. So the only difference is who's suggesting that amendment. So either Congress can suggest it or the state delegates can suggest it. And the reason that came about was because we sat back and thought, well, let's see, haven't heard Congress lately talking about term limits. Last time I checked, they're pretty happy with their career politicians. So not too many of them are going to say, I think I'd like to turn myself out. So the state delegates can certainly discuss that one. And so the idea is to rein in, that's the wording I want, to rein in the federal government. A lot of overreach has been taking place in the federal government. And so we would like to see it be reined back in. And so it's all about limiting the federal government back to its original, what the founding fathers originally foresaw with the Constitution. It was about a limited federal government. So it's gotten way out of control. So it's time to bring it back. So that's kind of what the whole idea of Convention of States. So Convention of States, though, it models itself after the legislation, if you will. So first of all, we broke it into states. So each state has its own chapter. So I am with the Texas chapter of Convention of States. And so then we have a state director. And then it breaks down into, it models after the state legislation. So we have regional captains, which oversee the Senate districts. So like every senator should have a regional captain that would build a relationship with that senator and also oversee the different House districts that are within that Senate district. And then each House district has a district captain. So I started out as the district captain for my area and then moved up to the regional captain. and also am part of what we call the Capitol Brigade, where we take as many people as we can with us to Austin whenever there's legislation going on, and we testify, before hearings on certain bills, or we'll go and we will talk to the legislators that while they're in session and ask, is there anything that we can do? And oftentimes they'll tell us, yeah, we need you to come. We need as many people to show up for this particular bill, or, there's just things that they'll need the citizens to do. And they do have, we are told they have a kind of a rough estimate formula that when they look at us, when, let's say I show up to Austin at the Capitol, they see me as representing about 1,000 constituents. So to give you an example, when we went down during the third special legislative session back in the fall, we went down there about the mandates. They had a hearing on the mandates and the redistricting. So we went down and we spoke at both. We testified for both. When we were testifying for the redistricting, there were 5 of us from Montgomery County that went, and all 5 of us spoke in order. And after the 5th person spoke, one of the committee members said, "Wow, there sure are a lot of people here today from Montgomery County." I'm like, 5, that's a lot. But to them, that was a lot. They were being serious. So they appreciate when we get involved and when we are engaged, which is what we're supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be. So in going back to Convention of States, we have our goal, of course, is to get to a convention whereby we can send state delegates to propose amendments. And we are over halfway there. We have 19 states now have passed legislation to call for a convention of states. We need 34 states to call a convention. So we still have a ways to go, but we're working toward that. But while we're working toward that goal, our mission is probably, I would say, probably even more important than our goal. Our mission is to educate and inform and engage the largest grassroots army of self-governing citizens that this nation has ever seen. And we are well on the way to that. We have about roughly 5 million members nationwide. So over 250,000 are in Texas alone. So we are well on our way there. And the idea is to get people like us that are, patriots, that are self-governing, liberty-minded people into strategic places like school boards, city council, commissioner courts, everywhere that we can place people into government places, as well as just people going and keeping an eye on, let's see what's going on and report back to the group. What's happening over here? What happened in that meeting?
Right.
Yeah, as she mentioned, as she warned, she has frozen up a little bit. But,
she warned us about I know there's something going on here. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're warning.
We had a bit of thunder.
Yeah.
We had a bit of thunder. Yeah. It's raining pretty good here, so it's good. We need the rain, but anyway, so that's kind of the Convention of States is kind of a twofold, if you will. Most people think of us as the convention, right? The Convention of States, because that's in our name. But like I said, the mission is really the most important thing, and that is to get people involved in self-governance and understand what self-governance is. And we have free classes that are taught online about the Constitution. We do partner closely with the Patriot Academy, and they offer a lot of wonderful classes like Biblical Citizenship and Constitutional Live and many others. And so just there's a lot of free classes out there that people can learn about the Constitution and about what it is to be a self-governed citizen. And we really need to know what it is to have a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That's what we have. And we have a representative republic. And we can't have that if people are sitting on the couch like I was. Doing nothing.
Yeah. And so
we all need to kind of come together, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, Cyndie, you said the state delegates, or the delegates from each state, are those selected by the state legislature?
It depends. Every state can choose the way that they want to select their delegates. Every state gets to choose. And I don't honestly know what, I have not heard if the state of Texas has decided how they would do that. I don't know. It could be that we're still far enough away that they haven't really gotten into that part of it, but and our focus this next for the 88th legislative session that starts in January.
Yeah.
Our big focus in Texas will be to remove the sunset clause. So when
what is that? I think it'd be important to explain that to the audience.
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. So Texas is what we call a passed state. In other words, we have passed the resolution to call for a convention, and we passed that back in 2017. But when they passed the resolution, they put a sunset clause on it, meaning we had a limited time to call for that convention, and then it would that particular resolution would go away, and then we have to start all over. So they gave us 8 years. So it will sunset in 2025. So in 2023, our goal will be to have that removed. And so that'll be the goal that we have so that it will be, in other words, it will just say that we want to call for a convention, even if it takes 10 years or 15 years, however long, that it will stay in place until the convention is called. So
yeah, totally.
Yes.
Okay,
Hey,
great. Yeah, go ahead, Becky. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to bow out early. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, no worries. Okay. Yeah, well.
So informative. This is like history class that I want to be in.
Go online to Convention of States, and you can take some of the classes. They're free.
And you know what?
Yes,
I started
yeah.
early today, but you did a great job explaining it. So thank you.
Good. Oh, good. Well, thank you.
The rest of the year.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
So if you go to Convention of States, we're going to go ahead and share that.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is Convention of States. And so there's a lot of latest news. So you can find out the last state to actually also join the Convention of States was South Carolina. They were the 19th. And you can keep up with all of that. And then, Cyndie, where would someone get resources for taking classes and things like that?
Okay, so while we're still on this page, there is a petition that if you go to the first place you go to, if you just go on to conventionofstates.com, it should take you to a petition, and it just you can read a little bit about it, and it's basically what I just told everybody is what a convention of states is and about Article 5, and if you agree that you think that this should happen, you can sign the petition. And we still need the petition signed, even though Convention of States has been passed in Texas. It still helps. We're still collecting petitions because, as I said, we want to get rid of the sunset clause. So we can take those petitions, and every time someone signs a petition, it sends it straight to your state legislator, and your state legislator will see that and say, okay, I understand that this many people want this to happen, and it just helps our cause to get pushed forward a little bit stronger. So signing the petition is a good way to start. And then depending on, if somebody like me, I wanted to get active, so I said, sure, I would like to be a volunteer. And being a volunteer just means that you want to be even a small part, even if it just means you want to receive the news, like you're reading the news of what the latest state that it was just passed, things like that. But beyond that, there should be a tab at the top about learn more. And I don't have it in front of me. It's very little because I'm on my phone. But if that doesn't work, you can go to something called COS University. COS for Convention of States. COS University. And then that will have a lot of classes and they're free. I think there are a few that you can take, like there's one Constitution class that you can take part of it for free, but then the rest you would have to purchase, but that is the only one I know of. And all of the others are free. And it's a lot of good information, just really good. And they're short classes. Some of them are just a few minutes long in their video. And then some of them will get a little bit longer, but you get a little, like they'll reward you with a little completion certificate, you can just, if you're into rewards. So just a good way to mark it, it's like a little bit of a feedback that, hey, look, I finished that. But it's just very informative, and it's good knowledge is power. And I'll tell you when I look back on this past year in a couple of months, probably I feel like I have learned more in the past year or so especially about our Constitution and about our rights and just everything that has to do with government of our country than I learned in all of my schooling years, even to include college. It's amazing what is out there and available. And now, of course, I think the difference too is I want to learn. I think when I was in school, I was like not so into it as much, but now it's especially with everything going on in our country right now, we need to know. We need to know our rights when they come to us and say, if the federal government's trying to mandate shots to us, mandate vaccines.
Masks are right. Yep.
We have to stand up and say, no.
Right.
Well, like my shirt says, right? Come and make me.
That's right. That's right.
Come and make me. Yeah. I mean, basically, it's kind of a funny way to say, but still, it is. It's we have the right to stand up and say, no, it's not. They don't have that right. They don't have that right. So we have to learn. We have to learn and teach others and help others, finding resources like this, where to learn how they can stand up and say no. We have to have, we need to learn the art of peaceful non-compliance, because the federal government has gotten way beyond its reach. And so it's way out of control. And so we have to learn our rights, and there's power with that. And I've gotten a lot more hope and a lot more peace through that, because I know my rights, where before I couldn't have said that. So it's
right. I remember last year when we were first going out and protesting the vaccinations in kids. That was a year ago. And there were so many questions. Are we allowed to be on the sidewalk? Are we allowed to be here? We really didn't know.
No.
Yeah, and, to be there. Yeah.
That's and right. when you don't know, you can easily be told you can't do it. And we really could have gone into the building.
Yes.
And, and at the time we didn't know that. And so we were just staying in the parking lot and trying to talk to parents about the risks and everything. And, but there was a pretty big bully who was out there trying to tell us that, and walking with us as we're trying to talk to people. We're like, no, we have the right to be here. We knew at least that, but it was kind of a eye-opening, because we were like, we should know this, right? That we don't. We're just like everybody else in this country. You're working really hard trying to provide for your families and not paying attention. And now it's time to pay attention, because a lot of things are going on that we just, most Americans, I would say at least 90 or more % don't really want in our country. And so I love when we met with you a few weeks ago, Cyndie, you had these little, oh my gosh, these little constitutions. So I have it. I've read through some of it. And that way I know exactly, because gosh, it's been a little while since I've been in college or even high school. And they don't really teach you that you can gather together 38 states, 2/3 of the states together, and then you can amend. You don't have to wait on Congress to do what they're not doing for us right now. So that's really fantastic.
Exactly.
And I love that it's just more than that. It's really kind of getting together with people in your area and how can we run for the school board? How can we, who's appointed in this position? I'm learning a lot this year that I was never interested before. But when you have California trying to pass a bill to where if you're 12 years old or older, you can consent for yourself to get a vaccine that you have no idea about.
Right.
But you can't vote and you can't smoke and you can't drink.
Right.
But you can put a toxic in your body that you have no idea how it's going to affect you. Then that raises concern for me. And I'm like, no way, Jose, not here. Not on my watch. So
Absolutely. It is. It's empowering. But we do need, and it was really, Teresa, it was right. It was by design. When you look back, we were not taught this on purpose. They want to keep us, they meaning the Marxists, that are trying to take over the country. I don't think it's a surprise anymore. I don't think it's a secret. I mean, it's very obvious. And when you look back, it was by design, that because they know a people, well, even scripture says, without knowledge, my people perish. And it's true, even in our society, if we don't know the laws of the land, we don't know our rights, then we, like you said, we can get pushed around. We can easily.
Oh, she broke up there again.
I think I understand exactly where she's going with it, because if we don't know what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do, or what our constitutional rights are, then we get pushed around. And just like the mandates, you know,
Right.
the mandates came around. That's a mandate. It's not a law, and you didn't have to follow it. And so many people were coerced.
They were.
And lost their with forcing them to take the vaccine
Yes.
or get fired.
Right.
And you had a constitutional right to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that, and take them to court.
Right.
Definitely. And I think a big thing that gets lost even on like hardcore conservatives and libertarians is that it's not just the people that have laws that they're required to abide by. It's the government and the elected officials that have laws that they're supposed to abide by, mainly the Bill of Rights. Like, for example, the First Amendment is a law that restricts the government and elected officials such that they can't restrict free speech or free press. Or the Second Amendment is an example of a restriction on the government, that they can't restrict firearm ownership by the people.
Right.
And yeah, like we've seen, like with COVID, and even much long before COVID, that our elected officials don't follow the laws that they're supposed to, the restrictions on their power, such as their inability to legally restrict us from opening our businesses, or from going around without masks, or from living without vaccines. And so I mean, when the government, the elected officials don't follow the law that they're supposed to, then we're not living in a free country. We're living in a dictatorship, and only the people can hold them to account when the justice system is too corrupt to do it, at least on the federal level. And that's why it's that much more imperative for us to push back and hold our elected officials to account and their feet to the fire when they violate the laws that they're supposed to, like they have been doing.
And I would say, and Krishna, even to your point, even because you did say, at the federal level, we need to watch at the local level.
For sure, yeah.
And
that was a big reason I promoted the constitutional sheriff, because the sheriff is the main enforcement arm of the law. Like, thanks, Teresa. Yeah, like the governor or like the president is just a mouthpiece for the law, but the sheriff is the main enforcement arm. So if the sheriff, as the enforcement arm, says no and gives the middle finger to the governor and the president when they fail to follow the laws that they're supposed to, the restrictions on their power, then the mandates and things of that nature that fall outside the scope of the powers that are given to the governor and the president, have no efficacy because there's no enforcement.
That's right.
And even in this whole COVID episode, it was like all the rural counties and the small towns that were not enforcing all the anal restrictions and the mandates. It was all these big, liberal blue cities.
Right.
And so, that's a big reason why, I continue to encourage people to, get out of the big cities where you're just simply outnumbered by the millions of, incorrigible leftists and blue voters, and to move into the small towns and the rural areas where you can have more freedom and liberty because the restrictions and mandates are not as imposed, because you're not drowned out by the majority of leftists and blue voters.
True. And for those who can't get out of the city, I encourage them to band together and there's plenty of people that were being quiet, and find those people and band together and push back and regain. It's time for us to take back cities. There's no reason that the cities have to be the liberal strongholds that they are. So
for sure. Yeah.
That we're going to get the cities back too. And when I say we, meaning we the people.
That's right. Yeah. We the citizens. Yeah.
Return the power back to we the people, where it is supposed to be. Yeah.
That's correct. And, one place that you can go, if you need to email Convention of States, you can go to info@conventionofstates.com. And Cyndie, is there a way for anyone to contact you, since you're our regional representative?
Absolutely. You can reach me by email at Cyndie, and that's CYNDIE .Phillips, PHILLIPS @COSaction.com. That's
okay, and then do you mind if I flash on the screen, Cyndie?
What's that?
Do you mind if I? Oh, okay, yeah, never mind. Teresa, you do it.
Our minds are thinking the same here, Krishna.
Yeah, right, indeed. Yeah, you're still faster than me.
After you work together for a little while, you're just thinking the same. So.
Indeed, yeah, right, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a good way to reach me right there.
Okay,
Cyndie,
fantastic.
we are so excited to get to know you and all the work that you're doing. We appreciate you and everyone who's working in, and you're in Montgomery County.
Yes.
Yep.
I have an excellent team. I have an excellent team of people. Not enough time to name them all. But anybody who can make it out on Monday night, you would meet a lot of them. But very active team, and I'm very blessed to know so many of them. They're just a wonderful group of patriots, and all working hard to reclaim our self-governance.
Fantastic. So regional, would that be by county, or is that by the four regions of Texas?
Yeah, good question. So when you see regional captain or region, that really means Senate district.
Okay.
So it equals Senate district. So I am the regional captain for Senate District 7, which of Montgomery County. Well, I guess I would be down in Harris County a little bit. After the redistricting, it's a little odd.
Yeah.
I was Senate District 4, so everything got moved. I got redistricted out of my House district and my Senate district, so I'm having to reconfigure everything in my head. But yes, I have about 10 House districts that have district captains that were over, that were all on our team. So, yeah.
Well, fantastic. If you want to know more about how maybe to become a regional captain or even a local captain, you can reach out to Cyndie.
Absolutely.
And, she can let you know all about that.
Absolutely.
Let's all band together and get together to do something. We have been watching our country and different things happening that we know is not right, but we have the right and we have the ability to stand up. It's kind of like in our blood. If you are sitting there and
yeah, right. Like just like that's exactly how the country was formed, through the efforts of the founding fathers and under the leadership of George Washington.
Right.
But in a sense, we do have it easier and we do have it harder. I mean, easier in the sense that we don't have to fight on the battlefield, with guns and bullets flying all over the place, but harder in the sense that I think it's fair to say that the tyranny we're facing, not just with the deep state and the Biden administration and the Democratic Party and the rhinos in it, as well as tying that with the whole World Economic Forum and the New World Order, is a lot more formidable than what King George had presented upon us.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, the flip side of that is that you don't have to go out on the battlefield facing gunfire like they did back then.
Very true. Very true. That is true. Yeah, I like to say that if you're an American, you have 1776 running through your veins. And it doesn't matter if you were born here or if you chose to come here. That should run through your veins. Absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, worldwide, I mean, all liberty lovers worldwide, even as you were saying, not just the ones in America, have 1776 in their blood as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And really, we are kind of a beacon to the world for that. So,
right.
So we have an obligation not just to ourselves, and to our kids and our grandkids and posterity, but to the world.
For sure. Yeah.
To secure those freedoms. Yeah.
And I think we have to stand up for this disillusionist and movement of that this is a terrible country to be in. No, this is the best country to be in. If you have ever gone anywhere else, I think that people who say that have never traveled outside of maybe their area, maybe even their state. Because if you go anywhere else, even down in the Caribbean, and you go to Jamaica and you see how they're living, you have no idea. So this is the best country to live in. Let's fight for our freedom. Let's fight together and band together. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is. We are all Americans, and we all deserve freedom.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Liberty is a human right, not just an American right.
Yes.
That's right.
And it's given by God, not government.
By our Creator.
That's right.
Yep.
And if we're going to fight for other countries, we have to fight for ours first so we can take care of others. Just like putting your mask on yourself first. Then you can go put masks on other people to help.
That's another great point you brought up. The government does not provide our rights, our liberties. Our government is there to protect it.
Protect it.
That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
That's right.
Whenever it tries to do anything outside of that, that's when it becomes tyrannical, as we've seen worldwide, and what we're fighting against.
That's exactly right. That's right. They become tyrants. That's very true. Very good.
And in that spirit, Cyndie, I was wondering if you could tell us more, on specific depths of like the mission of the Convention of States. And you mentioned term limits, so aside from that, what are like the specific mission action items of the Convention of States?
So are you meaning like as far as the convention goes, or just in? Well, let me. What I would like to share with you is what what Convention of States is capable of doing. We have a lot of tools in our tool belt, if you want to call it that. So, again, the convention is our goal, but while there's so much that we can do. There's a
but beyond the convention, what are your goals?
Right. So there's a saying going around right now, and it's so true. Fix local and you fix national. If we all fix local, if we all were to fix where we are, kind of like Teresa said, we fix everything around us.
Yeah.
And it's like putting your mask on first before you put the mask on your, I hate to even say mask anymore, but when you're on the airplane.
On the airplane, exactly. And you're on an airplane and you have that emergency. You're going to put the mask, oxygen mask on, not a face mask that's keeping you from having oxygen.
Yes.
But yes.
So you have to help yourself first so that you can help others. So, but it's that same idea. If everybody takes care of where they live, if everybody did that, that would fix national. Because we would have the right people being put into place, right? So one of the ways that we're working to do that, we have different coalitions. So we have an education coalition. As a matter of fact, our state coalition director for the education coalition I just met her in Austin yesterday. And we had a meeting down there. And one of the things that she is looking at doing is growing the different going to different school districts around the state and growing the grassroots armies in those areas to rise up and become school board members, and not just become school board members, but have people behind you to back you up and have your back, so that when things are coming against you, like, we have things like the left comes at them, that they have parents that stand up and say, no, we agree with them, back off, that kind of thing. So we have different coalitions that we have in place. We have a veterans coalition. We have just different groups that can focus. We have a legislative coalition. So we have all of these different groups that focus. They take one thing and they focus on that. And that way we can really get into the nitty gritty and fix identify what needs to be fixed, and then grow the team to fix it. We have a prayer team coalition, prayer warriors. We have a strong prayer group that they make it their goal to call every single legislator every month. Every month, every legislator in the state of Texas gets a phone call from a COS prayer warrior asking, how can we pray for you? What are your prayer needs? And it's very touching. As a matter of fact, I was up at the Capitol with several of my colleagues over the summer, and we were in Senator Brian Hughes' office, and we were meeting one of his staff members there. And she said, "Oh, Convention of States, you guys are really good you're the only ones that call and ask us how you can pray for us." And that is just huge. So it really, it means a lot to them to know that their constituents care and want to know. We're not just sending them there to get arrows slung at them. We want to know, how can we pray for you? And so there's just a lot of behind the scenes things that are taking place that are really but boots on the ground. We get boots on the ground. And so it's an excellent organization, and we team up with other organizations to get things done. I know we've teamed up with Freedom Matters Group to do things. We've, it's, and there's some other wonderful organizations up here. We have God's Digital Angels. We have some excellent groups, Texans for Vaccine Choice. So we just team together whenever there's something going on that particular group has a need for. Hey, we've got people that can come alongside you and help you. And then when we need something, hey, we need help, let's go to Austin. We need as many people there to testify for when we were doing the election integrity bills, or we just need the people to show up. And so that's how we band together. And so those are the things that, and the other thing that Convention of States, going back to the tools that they can do. And I think I gave this example when I met with you guys a few weeks ago, going back to the school districts. Something that we can do for not just the school districts. We had when we were having other states that are looking to pass the Convention of States project. We have something called Telepatriot, and we can call. We have access when someone signs a petition. We now have access to their email address and their phone number. So now we can call them to say, did you know that this election is taking place in your area? And and inform them. Or did you know that your state is trying to pass the resolution to join the Convention of States? You need to call your governor or your legislator and let them know that you want this passed. But when we had Houston ISD had a big election for school board back in December, and we had over 14,000 phone calls were made through Convention of States, and we were able to help flip 2 of the 3 school board seats from conservative. So that was a very helpful tool, and we had a survey that we had done that we had given the candidates. And so we had the information, how they answered these questions, and we were able to forward that. As we would call them, we would tell them, you have a very important election. We don't tell them how to vote, but we would just say, vote your values. And then we're going to follow this up with a text message that includes a survey, and you can make your decision. And so I have to believe that it did help, but it's just those tools that can help,
For sure, yes. And on that note, Cyndie, I did want to ask, do you regularly get in touch and talk to the COS groups in other states? I imagine you do.
We do. I don't know if we do regularly, but obviously if we have friends, the idea is, we all know somebody in other states, right? So the idea is to contact our friends and family in other states.
Yeah, I think what she's saying is to contact people in other states that you know
Yes.
and give them the information so they can look into it, so they can actually have their state join if it hasn't joined already. And if it's already joined, then you have all these other things that you can
sorry.
do.
No, that's okay. No,
it was buffering again.
Get
Can
the
you
warning
hear me
on
okay?
it. Yeah. But
You know,
okay,
I think what the importance is there is power in numbers. And so when we group up with and we meet these other organizations, like I've met one of the main members of Vaccines for Choice for Texas, and they are fantastic. And there are power in numbers. So when there's an issue that you have and you could say, hey, they're about to pass this, let's all go to Austin and talk to the legislators and talk to the people and let them know, hey, voice our opinion about it.
That is exactly right. That's
for sure. Yeah. And where I was going with that question, Cyndie, is, what specific hesitancy do you see in other states that are yet to pass resolutions to join the convention, and what kind of pushback do you experience? And do you try to deal with that or convince them to change their mind, so to speak?
We work with them in ways of letting them. I guess the biggest thing is getting Convention of States, getting members of Convention of States. In other words, you get grassroots people there to join Convention of States, and then we can help them. We can help educate them on how to speak to their legislators. It ultimately has to be the citizens and residents of that state that speak to their legislators and to teach their legislators what this is, and to dispel the myths and to take out any of the misunderstandings of what a Convention of States is. Because there's a lot of there are some misunderstandings, and there's some good videos. Actually, PragerU has a very good 5-minute video on dispelling the myth of the Runaway Convention, and they do a really good job, as PragerU does. And you can just look at the title of it. I believe is called "How the States Can Save America." And it's a very good little video about how, kind of dispels everything. But there's a lot of pushback.
Sorry, can you explain what a runaway convention is? I'm not sure if the audience would understand what that means.
Okay, so the myth goes that there's a runaway convention. So we reach the 34 states threshold.
Right. Yeah.
States sends their delegate up to propose amendments.
The federal governing giant.
And then the idea would be that now you're in this convention and they propose a couple things could happen. They could propose some crazy amendments. Like, let's say they propose to have DC becomes a 51st state, or we want to
or Puerto
get rid
Rico
of
or
the
something.
electoral college. Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
they propose all of these crazy amendments. First of all, it shouldn't be able to happen because the resolution that is signed into it has to go through each state legislation. So it takes a while for a state to pass a resolution. It has to go through the House, and then it has to go through the Senate, and then back and forth to get a joint resolution, right? Just like a bill, It almost is like passing a law. And so you have the resolution for that state, and the state resolutions they pretty much read identically. And it reads that this narrow scope are the things that you can discuss in a convention of states. Term limits, fiscal responsibility. It's all about limiting the federal government. There's nothing outside of that. And so, for instance, the state of Texas has it reads such that if let's say I'm the delegate, if I go up to the convention and I propose something radical, like I want to abolish the electoral college.
Right, or get rid of the Second Amendment. Yeah.
Right. I would be recalled by the governor, and I would be prosecuted. It's a federal offense. I would be prosecuted and probably face jail time because I spoke
rightfully so. Right.
Yes. So that would help keep it that way. But let's just say that it does get into a runaway convention and those amendments do get chosen. I can't imagine 2/3 of the delegates voting to say, yes, this is we want to propose. But if they did, it still has to go to the states to get ratified. So
by 3/4 of the states at that point.
38 states, 38 to 50 states, at least a minimum of 38 states would have to vote to say, yes, we like that amendment. So it's a very high bar. It's a very high bar to have a runaway convention in that respect. The other myth is that we would have a runaway convention in that once the convention is started, that it's just going to be a whole new constitutional convention, and we're going to come out with a new constitution. But the way I like to explain that, explained to me, is that the constitutional convention that we held in 1787, when that constitution took place, we did not have a constitution.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. We had the Articles of Confederation.
Yeah.
And then they formed a constitution. Within that constitution, they spoke about having a convention of states that could be called for the sole purpose of proposing amendments. That's it. The language is very clear that would be a convention of states. Only the sole purpose would be to propose amendments to the Constitution, not create a new Constitution, propose amendments. They still have to be ratified by the same methodology that we've done for all 27 of our amendments that we have right now. All 27 of those were ratified in the same way. The states had to ratify. So by 3/4 of the states. So that process would still be there. So it's really, if we had such a runaway convention that it came out with a new constitution, I would have to say that that's where we would be. No, 1776, right? But I guess I keep going back to this. We have a runaway Congress every day.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Runaway Congress, and they have just
my White House now too. Yeah.
Over our rights, over our Constitution, we have to rein it back and get it back. And this is how the founding fathers, they saw a way for us to get around a tyrannical government, which is what we have. We have, a very bloated federal government that will never fix itself. So that's a safeguard that was put in. That's our stopgap that was put in the Constitution. So I think I don't worry about a runaway convention. It doesn't concern me. I'm not worried about it. I trust the founding fathers that when they put that in, that they knew how that would go, how that would work. And I think that if it got that out of hand, we have bigger problems. You know, it would be very telling to where we are. So I think it's another term for it is it's our peaceful revolution. It's our peaceful revolution.
And to be clear, Cyndie, I believe the only 3 items that would be allowed to be discussed in the convention, if it were to happen, would be the fiscal restraints on the federal government. So I think that's another way of saying that is a balanced budget.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, limiting the power and jurisdiction of the federal government, and then term limits on Congress and federal officials.
Right.
So anything outside of those would not be allowed to be discussed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is fantastic, because the billions and billions of dollars that they continue to go, send overseas, while meanwhile we have Americans who are living on the streets,
right?
And more homeless. You can't take care of the people who are here,
right.
But you can take care of a war that's going on that we have nothing to do with, supposedly.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, I think that would be interesting I'm sure that 38 states do not agree with spending all of this money that we have to spend, we have to pay back, and our kids have to pay back, and then our kids' kids have to pay back.
Absolutely.
And they
and
just
then their kids, right.
And then their kids, it's always going to be a debt, right? Because we're never going to really be able to pay it back.
Absolutely. And there's a debt clock that you can look up on Google search or search engine. I don't like Google, but you can do a search engine, of
next research or something like that. Yeah. One of those. Yeah.
U.S. debt clock. And in the time that we started this meeting, the debt has probably risen, I don't know, 30
billion,
30 million. Yeah, it's
right. Maybe 30 billion, who knows? Yeah.
It's astronomical numbers.
It's not even 1% of the total debt obligations now.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
I'm going to share it because this is a crazy website. I haven't seen it before, but this is interesting.
Yeah. So they have a live running debt clock, and it's just, there it is. There it is. And there it is, running right there.
Wow. Yep. I don't make that much money.
I know.
Yeah, right. I know.
Wouldn't it be nice just to spend all kinds of money that you don't have and not have to worry about? That's what they do. They spend.
Right. Well, this is why, as an economics major, I hated that, Keynesian economics was promoted, which is essentially that you can spend money to solve any sort of economic crisis, like a recession would be the biggest example. But if that was really the case, then why don't we just print trillions of dollars and then give everybody, $1 trillion, and then we're all rich, right?
Right.
That's simple. Why do we even need to work anymore? The problem is that, everyone would go spend all the money, and there aren't enough goods to provide everybody.
Yeah, I was listening to something today.
Shortages, and then that's when you'd have real hyperinflation where everything would cost then $1 million. Oh, she froze again.
Okay. Yeah, so I love what she's doing and the groups. There we are, Cyndie.
Yeah.
Can you hear us? There you go. Can you hear us? Okay. I think something. Maybe check your audio.
Okay, I think you can hear us, right? But nod your head if you can hear us. Okay, maybe she can't even hear us.
I don't think she can hear us. But that's okay. We're going to go ahead and thank you, Cyndie, for being with us. There we go.
Sorry, I know the thunder is just all around. It's like boom.
Okay, yep. I think I'm starting to hear it myself too. But yeah,
I bet it's a pretty big system coming through. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate you inviting me on.
It was it was a great pleasure to have you, and we'd love to have you again, of course.
Thank you, and thank you for everything that Freedom Matters group does. I know you guys are amazing. You're one of the first groups I found after I got into Convention of States. So
Okay, yeah, totally.
Great.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. It was a good find.
Well, thanks, Cyndie. Have a great night, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Y'all have a great one.
You too. Thanks, Cyndie. God bless.
Thanks.
Yeah, so man, I am so excited about things like this, and you and I were at the medical convention, at least partly at the medical convention that just happened up in Conroe over the weekend.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It's so amazing to see just what everyone is doing.
You were really there. I don't know if maybe there counts because I was only there for the last 30 minutes.
Hey, you made an appearance. That's okay.
True.
You were there. And I was able to sit in, and it was so fantastic because I saw doctors. Dr. Farella was leading it. Dr. Urso, who I love so much for saving my brother-in-law's life. And then we were there. FMAG was there. We had a table to talk with anybody who had questions, and anyone could have attended. There were some private meetings for the doctors, but there were doctors from multiple states. And Dr. Farella did a really great job of asking, okay, what state are you from? What, and just anyone here from Ohio? Anyone here from? We had people who were from New Jersey, Iowa, Florida. Of course, we had several who were there from Texas because we are in Texas. Yeah, right. But talking about Idaho, Montana, Massachusetts, there were a couple states that no one was there. There was a person from California there. There was a person from Hawaii there. So we have some of those states that are supposedly blue states, and we have doctors and nurses who are really, they really need to have a voice, and they really need to. They need to have the power, and the power is all in the Constitution and law on what they can and cannot do, because they are being reamed through the medical boards with the use of treatments that they've been able to use, and the being able to think freely about what type of treatment you're going to give your patient, because you're looking at your patient. You're not using an AI system where you type in the symptoms and the AI system tells you how to treat that patient. So you're looking at the patient individually. And so it was so wonderful. I was very moved and very touched. There were so many doctors there. There were, I want to say, at least 150, 200 doctors from different states.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And they were learning how to use the Constitution to fight back, to not lose their medical licenses. They were talking about censorship and how to get around that, how to band together, how to reach out to other people. And there was a book that was suggested. I'm going to start reading it. It was called COVID-19. I can't remember the rest of it, but maybe I'll share it next week on our podcast. We'll talk about, maybe we'll do an update on COVID and what's going on with that next week during our show, because we haven't done that in a little while. But I was really moved, and all of these organizations and people moving together, all for the same reason, just for the safety and security of our nation, and also our own personal rights that we like we talked about already. It's a God-given right. It's not a right that was given to us by our government or by our local official. It's a God-given right to have freedom. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And the most moving part for me was the networking ability for people, especially residents that could not get residency in the doctors that they'd expected to from the beginning of their medical school days, because those doctors wouldn't take them if they wouldn't take the mRNA vaccine, gene therapy shot. But it was really moving to see that there were doctors there that would take these residents on, and give them the opportunities that they deserve. They've worked so hard for and sacrificed so many of their years to get and to work up to. And the fact that there was like an actionable solution for people struggling through these injustices and problems was what really was the icing on the cake for me, because it was more than just protesting and like righteously complaining about the problems, which is righteous, but then there needs to be a solution and something to do on top of that. And that network of doctors that these residents who were struggling to find residency for to be able to tap into was really one of the best parts of it, I would say.
And I agree too. I love that so much. Also, if you are a doctor or nurse, or you're seeing some things that are get in touch with us. Email us at info@freedommattersgroup.org and send us your information. We can connect you with other doctors who are trying to. You're not alone. So we had one doctor who was speaking there. She was working in ERs in New York City, and she saw about 75% of her patients. And she gave her testimony at this medical convention over the weekend. And she was telling everyone that about 75% of her patients died. They were all given remdesivir. And she said there's something wrong with the protocol that they are being given. So she is now really working hard to dismantle the whole hospital situation and move everything more to like a private practice. And so I really hope that she is very successful in her endeavors, because I think that the monopolizing of hospitals and their protocols, because they are taking orders, they are all taking orders from the same people instead of having your own private practice, your own private doctor that you would normally see. I mean, when I was younger, we lived in the country, and our doctor, I remember his name was Dr. Apple, and we would go, he had his own little private practice, just like Dr. Farella does. And you really got a personal relationship with that doctor. That doctor had a vested interest in you. They saw you basically for your whole life. And I think that we need to kind of get back to the old writing in the charts, not this, I'm going to type in all of your symptoms into a database, and then the computer is going to tell me, what your diagnosis is. That is exactly what happened to my brother-in-law. They moved him to a hyperbaric room because they thought that he had not tetanus, but I can't think of it. Tiberius? No.
Not tetanus, not typhoid. Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. Thank you. It's like right on the tip of my tongue. They thought he had tuberculosis. He was in the hospital at that point for like 6 months. Where is he going to get tuberculosis from? He was by himself. And so they knew that it was the AI system telling them that, but they still moved him into this hyperbaric room. Probably better for him, honestly, because he was on oxygen. So it's probably a better situation for him. But, the doctors knew. The doctors told everybody else, no, this is not correct. But they still moved him there because the computer told him to do that. I mean, could you imagine having a brain and thinking and saying, the cardiologist and the pulmonologist already said, no, it's not tuberculosis, but the system says it, so we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, right. The system didn't didn't go to medical school and get any sort of medical licensing or certification. So don't listen to the system that has neither a brain, a heart, or a conscience.
Right. And it's crazy to think that that's what they're doing right now. I mean, I know we can use technology to assist us in a lot of ways, but it shouldn't it shouldn't override common sense.
It's also providing a lot of dangers in our society. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
From that to all the cell phones and other machines that track us and surveil us. And yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, please go out and vote for our friends Rick Garcia and David Hamilton this Saturday.
That's 2 days away from now, so yeah.
2 days. Yeah, yep. My birthday, so I'll be voting.
Oh wow, how about that? Well, happy Teresa. Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Oh yeah, I get the whole great week. It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and then it's my birthday, and then I get Mother's Day on Sunday.
Anyway, right?
It's a fantastic week.
I mean, isn't the school year almost over anyway?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, right. So that also helps, and hopefully, a victory by David Hamilton, Rick Garcia. Can't get any better birthday gift than that, can you?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. I hope they both win their their positions, and then hopefully this summer I'll go on a vacation somewhere and not wear my mask on an airplane and not have to have a PCR test. I won't go anywhere if they require a PCR test. I'm just not
for sure.
Yeah. Just you're not going to tell me what I have to do just to go fly. I don't have to do that. So
exactly.
I'll go anywhere that doesn't require it.
Yeah.
So
that's a violation of our fundamental rights.
That's right. I'm not sticking that thing up my nose with God knows what's
yeah, exactly right.
No way. Well, it's been a great night. We covered a lot of history there.
Indeed, yeah.
So very interesting. A lot of things there's always things to talk about. We could probably talk for like hours on here. But I think it's really important that we learn our own history first before anything else. And that way we know what action items we can actually take, because I don't know how many months I sat on my couch watching all of this happening and watching all of the hearings that were not in front of a judge because no judge would take it, the election fraud, and watching everything from all of these different states and what was going on. And Rudy Giuliani was in, and Jenna Ellis and a couple others who were kind of spearheading all of that, and getting at least the state delegates or senators or someone from the state to actually kind of take a look at it to see if they could go any further. And some of them have, and this trailer I'm going to show before we go is the 2000 Mules. It just came out last night. I think it's really premiering on Saturday the 7th, where you can actually just download it for $20. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to download it. That way we can watch it together at the house. But this movie is a documentary about the 2020 election. It kind of will be an eye-opener if you have never seen anything about the election fraud, if you've believed the mainstream media telling you, oh, it was the most secure. I mean, no election is the most I mean, no election is going to be the most secure. There's always going to be cheating in everything. So we knew that right away was a lie, whether or not it was a big cheat or a small cheat. We always know there's some cheating when it comes to elections. So and for years, for decades, there have been on both sides complaints of election fraud. So it's not just one side of the aisle or the other. So let me share this. It's a very short movie trailer.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap it up.
That'll wrap up the show. Yep.
All right, here we go. This is by Dinesh D'Souza, and didn't he formerly work in the White House as an advisor or something? I can't remember what his position.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go.
2020 election was the most secure in U.S. history. There has been no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
He lost a fair and secure election.
The most secure
Election in American history.
Really?
All those of you who volunteered and worked the polls, you deserve a special thanks from the entire nation.
This one mule made 53 trips to 20 drop boxes. He's not alone. We tracked 2,000 mules making multiple ballot drops. Leaving no fingerprints. Snapping photos to get paid. A coordinated ring of illegal vote harvesting in all the key states where the election was decided.
They delivered us a clear victory.
Game over.
Okay, so go to 2000mules.com and you can download that, I believe, on Saturday, and watch it and find out for yourself, and then make your own judgments. Don't let the media try to tell you what to think. So obviously they haven't been truthful in a lot of things, at least in the last 5 or 6 years, when I started noticing some things that they're just not being honest about. And then collectively they're sharing the same information all across the country because they are all one big network that works together.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
All funded mostly, and you could talk to any person who works in media, mostly funded by pharmaceuticals. So
yeah, true.
Why wouldn't they promote the vaccine? Why wouldn't they say it's safe and effective? Because they're getting paid to.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Krishna, it's a crazy world we live in right now, but I'm so glad to have you, and so glad to have everybody that we meet along the way. We've met a lot of people in the last few years, including yourself.
Thank you, Teresa. Likewise, yeah.
So we have another election coming up in November. So if you haven't gone through any process of getting in touch with someone to work the polls, or get trained to work a poll, or volunteer in some capacity, or just go out and support someone that you really believe in, get involved in one way or another. Every little small part will help. So,
amen. Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, sounds good, everybody. Yep, good night.
Good night.